one of the things that we've spoken about quite a bit with guests and Lenka and myself is this labeling of who we are. It's finding a label, putting it on ourselves, and now I am, and I am ADHD, I'm autistic, I'm introvert, I'm extrovert, I'm this, I'm that, and then we sit in these labels, and
Yes.
that is almost how we live our lives, is through these labels. And nobody puts the label on I'm a normal human, or I am human trying
Yeah.
to find the best way to be a human. But
Yeah.
it's having these labels, because if you don't have a label, where do you fit? How can you fit into a
Exactly.
space? and
Exactly.
and I love what you're bringing is, let's find out how to be human with
Hmm.
our foibles, with our uniqueness, with our good and bad habits and our perceptions and our experiences. But we don't need to just have a little label and then fit ourselves into it. And everybody can have autistic moments, or a narcissist moment, or a
Yes.
joyful moment. But we are human, and there's so much to it other than this little box that we need to be in so that we can fit in society, or we can fit with that group of people, or we can get away with something because, oh well, I have X, Y, and Z, and therefore I can do X, Y, and Z because feel sorry for me, or whatever it is. And we don't want to, put it blame on any one label, but it just seems to be that becomes then an excuse. But it's maybe finding these aspects of ourselves. How can we bring them in as a normal human to find a way to live our best lives without
Yes.
being in this tiny little box, because that's where we should be, and it comes to the shoulding all over ourselves. So this is a really fascinating topic, because you are giving us permission to just be a human and find a way to live as a human being with all these aspects of ourselves in there. And we're not just one thing, we are so much more. Can you share some of the experiences that you are having with, maybe with clients or people who give themselves a label and then trying to fit themselves into that box, whereas they're most probably just being a human?
Yeah. You've touched upon what is every day, every moment. It's what I call like a steady stream, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. Like with children, like with when we're raising children, we don't even recognize the mislabel. We don't even recognize the mislabels in our own mind and of our own selves. And so it's pretty strong and operative to the extent that we are not even aware of its impact on us. One of the things that I believe that is really important for us to do and is part of the human nessing work that we want to do is to allow ourselves to learn, because we believe that we all have human intuitive intelligence. We have this ability to decode our own selves and to decode the humanness in us. And so we are all experts. And therefore, so there is this book. In the book, one of the chapters that we have is on mislabeling. And mislabeling brings upon, I mean, we can have an entire episode on mislabeling, because when we mislabel, when you call yourself, for example, an introvert, um, there is, it's only a part of you. It, but then when I speak to you, do I speak to that part? Am I speaking to another part? It becomes like such a moving target that we don't know how to approach each other. So we bucket hole and we say, okay, it becomes easy for me to work with Natalie if I am seeing her as an introvert. So in the effort to make life easy for us, we we do two things. We call versions of ourselves the whole of ourselves, or we call the stories of our life the whole of us. And but that is not true on the good side and the bad side. For example, I call myself a leader, but no, sometimes I'm not leading. I call myself a victim, but sometimes I am leading. So we have these opposite and sometimes confusing versions of ourselves, and that entire spectrum is us. But it makes it difficult for us to say, I don't know whom I'm dealing with, which is another of our incorrect ways. Is I don't need to know who you are. I need to ask you who you are and honor who you say you are at the moment, because you are the expert inside your mind. You know that today I'm victim, or today I'm leader, and I honor. I don't need to know. But somehow, somewhere, somebody told us, I need to know who Natalie is, and Natalie needs to know who I am.
It's so interesting the way you're describing it, because another very common theme for us is coming up, and that's the understanding self and reliance on kind of the self help, inner power, intuition, where we are taught and programmed to look out to others, to expect others to tell us, to help us, define us, to guide us, to heal us. And we have lost this ability of introspection, of truly knowing who we are and connecting with self. And I love when I visited your website, one of the first things that jumped at me was that to self-help is help self. It's bringing it to ourselves, that we don't necessarily need more self-help books or self-help podcasts, even that often what we need is find a way of connecting with ourselves and figuring out how can we listen better. So I'm curious, this seems something that is very much in line of what you do. What are the ways that you then help and encourage and guide people to strip these layers of looking externally and listening and paying attention externally and trusting everyone else other than themselves? Because sometimes trusting ourselves can be very difficult and very scary.
Yeah, very, very scary. Um, so all of these are interestingly chapters in the book. I have a chapter called how to, trust yourself, how to trust others. We do this dance of trust with others, and we don't know whether we're doing the right thing or not. We just kind of give away our trust because it's a valued currency, but we give it away not knowing the risk and benefits of it. But if there were a way to evaluate, that is what I identify as in 3 bullet points, like do this, do this, do this. And um, so each one of them, how to trust yourself. What is that abstract place that we lean into? What is trust? Trust is on demand. I don't need trust yesterday. I need it like right now in this moment. It's some place that is an on demand, a just in time place. And how do we know we are reaching there? I think these questions that we have not been answered. What does it look like when you're away from trust? So there are pointers, and many of them. For example, trusting self. Um, the place is just the act of saying, I want to trust myself, is the start of it. You don't know where you're leaning into, but the fact that you trusted to lean into it is the start. And that allows you to reset footing. So it's almost like holding the handrail. Just give yourself permission to hold the handrail and imagine it's there. It starts with imagination until you start to feel the solidness of it. But one of the things that we miss is the ending. The ending is to thank the place for being there. And we just lean and then we just go away. We are not that gratitude, that gratefulness, that acknowledgement of that place to be there when you needed it is an important part of the process. And so we have gone so far away through the iterations that we don't even know where the rail is, and we don't even forget knowing how to thank it.
And trust is a big thing, and as you're saying, is trusting ourselves. And I love that analogy of, hang on to that handrail, imagine it until you can feel it. And one of the things that we can do is we trust others to guide us or tell us who we are or show us, but they are coming with their own ideas and their own perceptions and their own, regrets and guilt, and they are wanting to almost push you in a direction that maybe they want to go into, but it's easier to push you into it because you giving them that trust to say, oh, what do I do now? Well, go and do X, Y, and Z because that's what I think you should do, and you'll be good at it because of whatever reasons. But it might not be the right thing, but that's what maybe they are wanting to do, but they don't have the trust in themselves or the courage in themselves or whatever it is. And so we are giving them this valuable currency, as you said. We're giving them this trust, and then if we're not listening to ourselves and not trusting ourselves, we get pushed in a direction that might not feel right or be right for us. And then there's this disconnect with ourselves, and then living a life that's not authentic to who we are, but that's what we think we should be doing because we've been told to do it. So it becomes this almost vicious circle, and then you go to somebody else and say, what should I do? And then you get pulled into another direction. Whereas if we are just trusting ourselves, and then it's like, no, that is not right for me right now, or oh no, I'm not even going in that direction because it's not the way that I want to live my life, or it doesn't connect with me, or whatever it is. But it's having that, I guess, that courage to say, no, I'm going to learn to find a way to trust my voice or to trust my heart or to trust. But of course, then we have the brain going, oh, and freaking out and doing its own thing. And now we're trying to hear a voice in the noise. So it can be quite a process, quite a journey.
Yeah.
Do you have sort of ways that people can start to hang on to that guardrail? And maybe in the beginning, we really do need to hang on to it. We're not just using it to balance, but we're just hanging on to it for dear life. Do you have some tools or ideas on how to start this process of trusting ourselves?
What you bring about is an intricate, there are a couple of threads. So one thread is trust. One thread is, who is the expert on me? Are you the expert on me, or am I the expert on me? The third is, who gives the final approval? The fourth is, we do need each other. And when is that? And how is that? So when all of these get jumbled up, like I keep saying, for so long we don't understand this jumble that we don't even have the energy, and it feels like it's a lot to unjumble. Um, the way humanness works is a little like quantum physics. Time can fold, and you know, light years can become today. So it's possible for us to have that understanding, that it can become a solid understanding almost instantaneously. However, yes, there are tools, and the tools are not to do's. They are, uh, i- again, it's really hard to describe humanness. And so we would just say they are felt experiences. The felt experiences, or the knowing that I am the expert on me. There is no debate here. Nobody understands my inner reality in the way I do. So, unless I don't explain my inner reality I don't understand it, and then explain it outwards, people will not understand me. And so it's true for somebody else. Unless you don't understand yourself and you don't explain yourself to me, I don't understand you. No pressure here. But unless this doesn't happen, we don't understand each other. And when I trust myself, I trust you before I trust myself, I'm also putting you on shaky ground. But when uh, we ask somebody to lead us, we're putting them on shaky ground. They know only half the story. That is why their advice doesn't work for us. They don't have the full story. And in all their well intentions, they give us some way. They're like, oh my God, she's coming to me for help. Why don't you go that way? I mean, that's the first thing they will say, right? Or this way or that way, based on whatever is happening to them at that moment. But they don't know the full story. And so I think we do a disservice to the other person also by asking them to give advice or approval to us. At the same time, we are wired for partial incompleteness. And where is that where my needs are supposed to be my responsibility? And where is it that you have a responsibility for my needs and I have a responsibility for your needs? So these understandings are what will make it unjumble really quickly. A couple of rounds of practice and we can get it right.
And I think it goes often back to, the very simple concept of, are you listening with the intent to understand, or are you simply listening with the intent to respond and have your way and have a say? So if we always have a conversation with others, with ourselves, with the world, with the intent of to gain a true understanding of what is the intention, what is the meaning, what is the reasoning behind saying and acting and feeling the way we do, and approach it with non-judgmental attitude of it is as it is, I'm here to absorb and listen and learn, not judge, not criticize, not cast any judgment or anything, simply to receive you, and in a way to do that for ourselves. And I think it's often harder to do it for ourselves. We can often be so much kinder to the people around us, and we can be more supportive and understanding of our friends, and we can encourage them. And yet when we are in the same situation as them, out of nowhere we're like so bad to ourselves. We cannot do this listening with the intent to understand and not judge and not criticize and not label, again just putting labels on ourselves or calling ourselves words, to simply listening with the intent to understand. And I like how you described what is the meaning behind it, what is the value behind it.
I think what you're describing is something that we've been trying to do forever. It comes in the form of should. We should listen to each other all those times, through school, through parents, through, younger versions of ourselves especially went through a lot of that. And there is also a genuine intention for all of us, because we hear this a lot from each other, that we want to be judgmental, we see the value of it. Somehow there is a missing gap between what we want and what's not happening. And I find that there is a single sentence that really shifts it for us. And that single sentence is, I am the expert on me, you are the expert on you. And it just is freeing, empowering. It allows us to take um, accountability onus about who we are and explain that to the world, and have a clean slate, which we call non-judgmental now, or empathetic listening now, about who the person is. We don't know. And so we cannot know. So we can and we do have these kind of tools that I feel our work is just bringing forth as reminders. It's not that we didn't know this, because how quickly we nod at it, smile at it, we know it. But to understand that the sentence can be a tool is, I think, what we are trying to bring to people, not in many words, but in these simple sentences that create a lasting shift.